Video 2 of April 16th, 2020. A medical German... So, more tyranny moving in as we see this virus spread more and more. A medical German lawyer was arrested for criticizing the coronavirus lockdown. She was then taken to a psychiatric ward and said she was abused by the authorities. So this woman... Beate Bachner, published a press release on April 3rd saying German lockdown laws as flagrantly unconstitutional, infringing to an unprecedented extent many of the fundamental rights of citizens. These measures are not justified by the Infection Prevention Act, hurriedly amended just a few days ago, she asserted. Long-term restrictions on leaving home and meeting others based on high death rate modeled scenarios which fail to take account on actual critical expert opinions, and this complete shutdown of businesses and shops with no proof that they pose a risk of infection are thoroughly unlawful. They are, yes. She called for a nationwide protest on Sunday to end tyranny at once, but the police told her that they would prosecute her for telling others to break the law and protest this. She felt she was being followed by a suspicious car and asked another person on the road to call police for her. This is kind of strange, and I'll get into kind of what I think. Not what I think, but just an idea, because this is kind of strange anyway. She asked someone else to call the police. Then, once the police show up, they arrested her and threw her to the ground, she said. She goes on to say how she was taken up to a psychiatric hospital and treated like a terrorist and such and such. So first off, this is incredibly sad, and the police are just on a massive power trip right now. I mean, we see it all across the country and across the world. I'm sure that this is a true story because we've been seeing so many others like this. Something just kind of seems strange. I'm almost positive this actually happened. But just what if... Because the lawyers are really above the police in the global power scale. Citizens, military, police, and then state power. I guess that comes to police as well. But they are above them. And then federal, I believe, I'm kind of just taking this on the top of my head. I've had it written out at one point. Corporations, of maybe religions, and then banks, and then big tech companies and things like that, and then probably the royal families, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds at the very top, and then the devil himself. I don't even want to get off track, but I figured out that I didn't reconnect with somebody. I found their Instagram page, someone I used to be really good friends with. And now he's like just this crazy Satanist here in my town. And he like ran away and was missing for a while. I'm not going to say his name. But I was always friends with him, and it's just weird. He's so weird. And he's like... He's saying that he's Jewish, but he's like posting like just wild satanic stuff. I'm not being anti-Semitic here. I'm saying that he can think he's Jewish or whatever, but he's the satanic version of one, I guess. It's just wild. And he posted on a story something like, this virus is so good for the earth, and we've needed something like this for a long time. And I was like, whoa, this guy's whack. He just got on all types of drugs and stuff, and is now like on a spiritual journey to self-destruction and in contact with the devil, posting pictures about serial killers and things like that. I swear to God, if this guy's another giant serial killer or another big news story, I don't know. It's just that bad. But just like Manson happened, so you have the big... Because the devil, we have free will, you go and contact him. He'll give you either riches or something in exchange for your soul. He always just uses you. Why am I getting into this? This has nothing to do with this. But I guess it ties into it. It's fine. I like kind of going off on these rants anyway without having the script. You can sell your soul to the devil for eternity if you get whatever you want here on earth. And when you're living. Then again, you don't get to go to that next level in the game. You pass this one extraordinarily, but then you spend the rest of eternity down in the pit. Or you could sacrifice your life here and your soul in exchange for godhood, where you merge with machines or robots. But that's just a giant fraud because he doesn't have the power to do that. And so it's just a path to self-destruction where you're doing this. It's pointless. So you'll get nothing from it. It's a giant fraud. It's the biggest scam in the universe, in the history of the universe is. Because there are many different universes. There's hell at the very bottom, which is basically nothing. And we've seen the quantum mechanics and mathematics worked out how zero-dimensional points create one dimension, two of those, and then 4 one-dimensional planes create 2-dimension, and such and so on and so on. 8 two-dimensional planes create a 3-dimensional cube. And so based on what people have seen, Satan was at the bottom, hell was at the bottom, and he was able to, through free will, they're the only ones who don't have free will, so they have to have people contact them. They were able to be let into the first dimension, to the second dimension, and now working their way into the third dimension. And it just keeps going up from there until they get to the top level. Then God switches on the lights, and they all run like cockroaches. That's just how it goes, because he's in charge. So it's completely pointless, and I wish, it's really weird just seeing, like, devil-worshipping people, and it's just bizarre. And scary. Anyway, and Microsoft just released that ad of the lady doing the spirit cooking or whatever, the Aleister Crowley stuff. It's bizarre. But like I was saying, the globalists, the lawyers, and on the scale of power in recent and world domination is higher than police. So here's what I think is true. They could have used this to have people get angry at police, just like they hyped up the police brutality from 3 years ago till now. They can use this to have people get angry at police and attack as a way to bring in more tyranny and tighten their grip on us. But given that I'm not seeing these stories on CNN or mainstream media, may make my point false. Unless they don't put the stories out to make us think something is really wrong with the police and get us to do something against them. That's just a giant paradox. I'm just kind of guessing things now. I don't know. It's just an idea to kind of throw out there. It just gets weirder and weirder, and anything can happen. So just the most bizarre things happen. We just had a virus that got transferred from people in America from Chimera. It just, things are just bizarre, and you can't even fathom it. And I mean, we see what's happening, but everything could be a paradox and switched around. It's really hard to tell. Alex Jones did fall for this trap a few years ago and pushed on the police state, not realizing that it was an agenda to bring in martial law and cause violence against the police. And so then him and Trump tried to unite with the police, but they're just so brainwashed, and they're going to try and eventually replace them with robots here shortly so they can make them do whatever they want. They just kind of hold police as, you want a paycheck, you do what we say. But a lot of them are awake, and a lot of them are awake and just go along with it, and that's very sad too. It's just, life is crazy, and it's hard to understand. I'm sure these stories are true, though, and we are in a tyrant police state. See you tomorrow.